Welcome to Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. A casual conversation about the sport of darts, talking about topics of the day from a North American perspective, featuring a cast of characters and contributors from the CDC roster and the world of darts. Now here's your host, Anthony Eugenia.
Okay, welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the 2026 version of Shooting the Bull. We're going to get kicked off tonight with a really fun show. A lot of great guests and a lot of cool segments lined up. Thank you for joining us tonight. As always, you can find all the information about the Championship Darts Corporation and its products on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can search at Champ Darts. You find us on YouTube. You're watching us right now. The channel is at Champ Darts on YouTube. So we'd ask you to subscribe and follow to those pages. This will also be available this coming weekend on Apple and Spotify and other great podcast platforms. So if you would, please give us a follow on those platforms as well and give us a 5-star review if you like the product. We wouldn't ask you to lie. Maybe just embellish a little bit. Helps the algorithm. So we appreciate that. Before I get into things with some of the fellas who are on the show tonight, throughout this sort of seasons that we've done, I've tried to do some cool stuff with the apparel that I've worn. First season we did, I tried to put on some PDC shirts that I had, some legendary players, and last year was a lot of CDC logoed stuff. This season I thought it's such an exciting year for North America that I would go North American centric. So no better place to start than the 3-time world champ Darth Maple. Great polo that I've had for a few years. I could use a nice jersey, just saying, John. We'll see if we can get that done. And other great I'm laughing because I see Peter Citera going, I'm going to be shilling for merchandise. If you're I got a few great jerseys in the closet, but if you're a top North American player and you want to see it showcased here on Shooting the Bull, then get it to old Anthony. And another great reason to talk about John is that he is in phase 2 of the 2026 PDCQ school. All right, phase 2 kicked off today. It's the first of 4 days. All right, there was a little phase 1 where some players needed to qualify, and then there were others sitting and waiting at phase 2. So today was day 1 of 4. Each day in the UK and the EU, respectively, 2 players will come out with a PDC Tour card. All right. Then other players, based on how they finish, they will earn points on an order of merit. And then based on how the PDC prorates things, and they will then award additional cards at the end of the 4 days. So we've got quite a few players playing, and we want to wish them the best. As I mentioned, John Part there, he's in the UK. Over in the EU, in Germany, is David Cameron, Matt Campbell, Danny Lauby, Jesus Salate, and Adam Savata. Okay, so a lot of talent from the Western Hemisphere over there competing for a PDC Tour card, okay? You can follow those games on Dart Connect each and every day. Obviously, the PDC site and their socials will give you updates, and our friends over at Online Darts do a watch-along. So if you want to kind of really disseminate what's going on in those matches, you can check out those platforms, okay? Firstly, let me bring in who's really going to be my shotgun for the night, going to be a part of a lot of the segments tonight. Without further ado, is my boy, Peter Citera. Hey, Pete.
What's up?
What's up?
Merchandise. I don't have any shirts. I'm the CEO of the company. I've got 0 shirts. And you're like, give me another one. There's room in the closet, a hanger.
Put it in the mail. Hey, at least I'm not, there's no ticker on the bottom that has, P.O. Box, 180.
Oh, it's good to be with you. I'll tell you that. It's always good to be here.
Always good, Pete. So, to tease everything, we're going to bring Dan Meyer on in a moment. Big movie debuting tomorrow. Bulls, the movie, backdropped, good story. It backdropped with in the world of darts, so that's going to be exciting. Then Peter and I are going to give you a breakdown of a little bit of CDC, how it works, and then the exciting news that we've got going on for 2026. And then in our third segment, Pete's going to give us a look at the North American players. He was over at the Ali Pally for the World Championships. And then we're also going to talk to Richard Ashdown about that same event. All right. So without further ado, let me get all my gazintas and all of my proper things correct. The director of Bulls, the movie, Mr. Dan Meyer. Thanks, Dan. Welcome in.
Hey, fellas. Great to see you.
Good to see you too, sir. Let's get a little promo action going. I've got the flyer, and let's move us to the side and get the pretty poster in there. So there you go. There's
Looking good.
the movie. So talk to us first about, as much as we love it, obviously this is a darts show, but why darts? Why and how darts became the backdrop to this film?
All right. So it's a little name droppy, this story, but very dear friend of mine, actor Paul Rudd, living in New York. He was there too, and he called me up one day and he said, "Hey man, you want to go grab a couple of beers and throw some darts?" And I had never played darts in my life. And I was like, okay, really? And he was like, "Dude, it is the best pub game there is." He's like, "Trust me." I was like, all right. So we met up at the Bleecker Bar in Lower Manhattan.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we've gone over this. Okay, so I won't fawn on that too much.
Anthony, that was our joint.
Yes, sir.
We played there, and we would play at the Edge. That was the other place we played. That was over like at a sort of East Village. But it was always the Bleecker Bar. We went to the Bleecker Bar first, but if we couldn't get a board there, then we went to the Edge. So we went there, we played darts, and we had probably more than a couple of beers because I know we just had an amazing time playing. And then that was it. I mean, that was pretty much, it wasn't just Paul and I, then was any of our friends. We're like, no, let's go play darts. And so that was, I mean, I would say for almost like a solid decade, that's what we did. It was our girlfriends. We would take our girlfriends with us. We would, whatever. We were like, we just went and played the game of darts and fell in love with it. Never played on a league. We never played on a team. It was just us, having fun. There was one night we were at the Bleecker Bar and like Britney Spears showed up to play darts. It was pretty crazy. So, so that's how it started. And I really fell in love with the game. We all fell in love with the game. And there's such a camaraderie about it. So
where does a film, the germination of an idea
so that's
to include this new passion into a film?
So I was an actor then, and all my friends were actors, and we just I've known some other actors that had written movies and parts for their friends to do, and I was like, well, let me do that with us. And so I wrote Bulls that was centered around the world of darts, and that's how it happened.
So let's talk about the film a little bit. Let's firstly let's put up that here's the website for everybody to go check it out. bullsthemovie.com, and it's going to be available starting tomorrow on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. So talk to us a little bit about the film. Most films have, what's called a hero's journey, the struggles and the things to overcome to sort of then, be there standing at the end. So let's talk a little bit about, what the hero has to overcome here.
Yeah. So Hank and Austin are the two main characters. They're brothers in the film. They have a struggling bar in Michigan City. It's my hometown, Michigan City, Indiana. We not only shot it there, but we decided to set it there. And they play on their very mediocre pub dart team. They're not very good. But through this sort of twist of fate in the movie, they get a chance to play for the World Darts Championship. And they don't take it seriously at all because they're not very good and they're playing against the team that's best in the world. So they think of it just a way to promote their bar. But then there's a patron at the bar that hangs out that turns up to have some real talent in darts. He ends up coaching them. And then they start to believe in themselves, and you'll have to see the movie to see what happens.
Well, I did get a glimpse of the movie. I got my hands on a pre-copy today, and I was able to see it. And I got to tell you, Ian, the character Ian, I got to pull up the actor's name.
TJ Jagodowski.
He is fantastic. He nails it. I'm not gonna nothing given away, but fantastic. His speech to the boys, his opening speech, hooked me there at that point. So a lot of fun. So kudos on that. A couple of other funny moments. Those that know some CDC players, Jules Van Dongen and Chuck Pooley are in the film, and Chucky's got a good line with his nice New England accent the first time you see him in the film, and that definitely gave me a laugh out loud moment.
That's awesome.
So there'll be some cool stuff to look for. Let's talk now about let's shut that down. Tomorrow, not only can you get it via streaming, there are some select locations around the country. I pulled up a couple of these places, look like fantastic indie places where they will showcase great indie films, and those wonderful places that love cinema, that are great experiences to go watch a film. So this weekend you can go see some of the theaters that are going to scroll down underneath you right there in my hometown of New York. Kent Theater, I looked it up. It's in Coney Island. So if you're New York dart players, head down there for the weekend. California, right there in Fort Worth, putting me on the hot spot that if I didn't see it already, I'd be in the car going to Fort Worth. But let's talk now about, this was your directorial debut. So talk to us about directing for the first time, and what were some of the things that really surprised you when you were behind the lens?
It was really great to direct. We had such a small budget and a small crew and very few shooting days, but we were really prepared. I really set myself up to try to just be as prepared as possible. And I will tell you, this is no joke. Probably one of one of the best things that happened to the movie, and one of the real highlights, was having CDC bring the cross-border challenge to Michigan City, and shooting at the Uptown Social. And then, we designed the set, we built the sets together, and you guys had your tournament there. And then we shot on that set. Literally, the tournament was Saturday night, and then we started shooting on Sunday. And that was just to have had that happen is still, it really changed the movie. It changed a real legitimacy to it, because those dart scenes look real. They look as real as we could make it on our budget.
They're good. They're good. I'll attest to that. They're good. So let's look at the trailer, and then we're going to come back and we'll talk to Pete, and we'll dive into a little bit about that connection between the CDC and Bulls, the movie. All right?
Yeah, I love it.
Alistair Whitman is going to need 3 bullseyes to win the first televised World Championship. If anybody can get a hat trick, it's Alistair Whitman.
Bro, this is pathetic. We need some way to get people in here.
Hey.
Real people.
I'm looking for Hank Fuller and Austin Turner.
Who are you?
How would you like to play the Galleon brothers for the darts championship of the world?
They're the best ever. This is some kind of joke.
We've decided to give an unknown team a shot at the title, and we've chosen you.
We'll do it. Dude, are you okay?
This is what we've been looking for, Hank. We can save the bar.
Are we gonna make complete fools of ourselves on national TV?
Yeah, you will. Unless you do exactly what I say. My father is Alistair Whitman.
Seriously?
Yeah. Let's get to work. We got a lot to do. Fellas, I'm going to teach you as my father taught me.
It's a practice sport. It's gonna take us forever to finish the game.
We said we'd do it, so just do it.
Do we have to do it like this?
I don't know. But we're here, so throw.
What happened? You bozos lose a bet?
People are laughing at us.
Yeah, they are. You look ridiculous.
These guys are the best in the world, and I can't even hit a bullseye at home by myself. There's a champion inside you.
You tosses. After tonight, they're never gonna forget your names. You gotta have a cool nickname.
Hank the Hammer. It is pretty cool.
Yeah, because you're not being called a tosser. Austin?
Yes, they are, because you look like idiots.
It looks like a fun movie to me.
It does. And the
If I hadn't made it, I'd want to go see it.
The barfly guy is great. He's great throughout the whole film, and so you got to tune in for him to share his amazing past, and so good.
I have not had a chance. Sorry.
Let's bring in Pete here. As we said, there's definitely a connection between our company and what Pete has done with Dan to get this project completed.
Well, I will say that the barfly thing, like, I have not seen the movie yet. I've got it ready to watch, but I mean, we're all in the game of darts, right? Every one of us knows that character,
right?
I mean, it exists pretty much in every darts venue across the United States, hell, across the world.
Yeah,
so, every league venue at least. So Dan, I got to say, I'm really, really happy to see this come to fruition. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Travis. I'm happy for Kelsey. I'm happy for really the entire team. You had just a great group of people that worked on it. It was obviously a passion project, and everybody was just pretty amazing. So, all the kudos in the world to you and the team for that.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I was talking to Ant, and we've kind of reminisced a little bit. Like, you and I started this. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say it. I'm not throwing myself into like being on the journey, right? But like one of the original conversations that we had was, you had trying to find an actor, some actors, whatever, and I'm like, we've got this guy. I think he might actually look pretty good on stage. And and there Chuck Pulio ends up coming in and kind of saving the day, right? Kind of
he's great. It's I'll tell you something, Peter. So funny is he texted me today and he said, "Hey Dan, any word on when the movie's coming out?" I was like, "Chuck, it's coming out tomorrow."
That's Chuck.
What are you talking about? It's in theaters. You can get it. He goes, "Oh," he texted me back. He goes, "Oh my God, this is amazing." So it was just the funniest thing. That was like the day before he reached out. There was a moment I was like, "Is this a prank? Is he just messing with me?" He knows it's coming out tomorrow, right? But I don't think he did. So
no, that is Chuck. It's funny. There's guys that you just don't, you just expect things like that to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like a similar story, legendary story from last year's World Championship where, Leonard Gates, 48 hours before he plays, sends a text saying, "When am I on?" Like, dude, you probably should be on a plane at this point.
I love it. That's hilarious.
The other thing, obviously, I've seen the trailers, seeing our name on that stage. I was really happy. Obviously, it's a selfish reason, but I was really happy to hear you say what you said about the fact that we were kind of inextricably linked. Because that you could have done anything, right? I mean, you could have put up, the world, darts group or something like that, right? It didn't have to be something real.
Yeah, that's what it was, and I was trying to remember how you and I met initially. It doesn't really matter, but I do remember one of our sort of early conversations. You said, I always wanted to do something in Michigan City because there's a casino here, the Blue Chip. And I was like, we're not doing it there. And you're like, well, can I come and see the where you're gonna shoot the World Darts Championship? And then you came and we met at Uptown Social. I think it was a mess because I got the days wrong or something, and but we've got it all figured out. We went in there, and you walked in. You're like, this place is perfect.
Well, we looked at Blue Chip first. I mean, we actually did tour the Blue Chip, and I thought that would have been a decent room. But wow, everything happens for a reason? And wow, did you find the right spot?
Yeah, it's funny because that was like that was actually the very first location that I scouted, and we posted some pictures on social to say like, hey, look, thinking about. I remember somebody wrote and they're like, if you think this is the right place for a darts tournament, you don't know darts. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, we'll see.
I think it proved to be the right place for a darts tournament.
It absolutely
all turned out well. We had a fictitious World Dart Championship, and actually we had a player throw a 9-darter right on that very stage. So
that's right.
Kind of worked out.
And we sold out. I mean, it was like I think there were 4 seats left for the Saturday night. So
it was a Spellman that threw the 9. Was it Spellman that threw the 9-darter? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that was really exciting. Unfortunately, they're no longer. They have had to close up shop, and they're looking to sell it. But that was a great. In fact, the woman that managed the place I've become friends with. She told me that the original owners of the place that sold it to the guys that owned it when we shot there, she said they came that night, and she said they were in tears because they were like, this is what we always hoped this place would be. We hope it would be something that was unexpected, like did something different that nobody had kind of thought of, and it'd be something like this. And they were like this was an amazing event that they had at the space.
Yeah, and even Nick Lamaglio,
I love Nick. Nick
and Tim both. I mean, they're both. I actually talked to them a couple weeks ago. They're both great guys, but they were kind of skeptical about it. And then Nick came in, and we gave him nice seats up front, and they had a really good point of view. But he brought his people back and wanted to show them production. I mean, he was kind of strutting around like a proud papa.
He brought like 20 people to that event. He brought like all these people in from Chicago. He's like, oh, my boys are coming with me. They had an amazing time. It was so much fun.
We got to replicate that with Bulls, the movie, the sequel.
I've got an idea.
Doesn't surprise me.
The sequel, Double Bull.
I like that. So
I'll take the writing credit. Thank you very much.
No, you're not going to get that. we'll give you a title, maybe a title by credit, but not a writing credit.
I'll take it.
I was supposed to be in the movie.
I know.
Not to spoil it, but we had Sean but I was supposed to be in the movie. And then, we had players that couldn't get to the airport. And so my budding movie career was basically destroyed because I had to go play chauffeur to some dart players. That could only happen to me.
Peter, your life could be on a whole different trajectory right now.
Absolutely.
If you didn't have to take some dart players to the airport.
His big break right through his fingers.
I could be bringing up my IMDb listing, use it for social media, make it look like I have some sort of talent in acting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is what it is.
All right, Dan, so let's get back up on the screen. So as I said, you can head to bullsthemovie.com and you'll be able to, get some streaming info plus the theaters that are going to be holding screenings. So if you're within, shouting distance, go see it in person. If not, sit back on the couch this weekend and enjoy Bulls the movie. Any other sort of directives about the film, Dan, or any other little tidbits?
A couple of things I'd say. It's not just it is available on Amazon and Apple. And I know that's where a lot of people go. But if you have cable, you can watch it on Xfinity, any cable platform, any of those things. It'll be on demand everywhere. So satellite, cable, any of that stuff, you can just click and watch it tomorrow, rent the film, own the film, and it's pretty exciting. It's a crazy journey, but here we are,
Excellent.
I gotta know, Dan. Sorry, I just gotta know. So obviously the movie's out now. You feel like it's got to be an amazing sense of accomplishment, right? Being that it's now nationwide, distribution, worldwide. When you sit back and think about it, which of the scenes in the movie was your favorite to film, and which was the hardest?
Well, the dart scenes were hard, just because it's complicated. It's just complicated to get all that stuff right. But God love our actors, but they're not professional dart players. So the darts are going all over the place. And we had to fix all that stuff in post. So there was that. My favorite scenes. Well, there is a scene in the movie. It seems to be sort of everybody's favorite scene that people have seen the movie and worked on the movie know, where the barfly Virgil comes in and offers Hank something for helping him out, for being such a nice guy, for being like, let him put drinks on the tab and being very nice to him, kind of. And he keeps saying, one of these days, one of these days, one of these days. And then he shows up at the bar one day and he goes, well, today's the day. And that scene is kind of epic. And there's a through line through the movie that we're kind of doing this hashtag, what's in the bag. because it's a line that's in the film that Kelsey says that people worked on the movie. They're like, my favorite line in the movie is "What's in the bag." So it will all make sense when you see the film, but we'll leave it as to be a little bit of a mystery as to that.
So Dan, what do we have next in the pipeline? What's on the horizon for Dan Meyer?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, one that's really, exciting and relevant is that directing a documentary about Jules Van Dongen, and his sort of trajectory of his career, and how, when he started out, he had this sort of meteoric rise, in darts, and then all of a sudden when he gets to this certain place, then couldn't figure out how to hold a dart. And, what he had to go through, his diagnosis and his treatment and figuring out what it is that he had. And now he's training himself to play left-handed, to try to just to get back to the sport that he loves to play, And I think it's a beautiful story. I think it's an amazing story. So we're putting that together. We start shooting that in March. And then I have another movie that I wrote that the Bulls team is getting together. We're starting to put that together now that we're hoping to shoot in Chicago in the fall. So, yeah.
Excellent. We'll keep an eye out for those projects, and a hearty congratulations to yourself and the entire team on the film, and much best wishes on a great weekend, and everybody go out and check out Bulls the movie.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy weekend. And thank you guys so much. I mean, I really, I feel like you're a part of the Bulls family, and we're part of the CDC family. And I'm so glad that we've all got to know each other and kind of partner up and do this thing together. It's really been great.
And maybe we'll get a chance to see that Cubs game we've been talking about forever. And
I love it.
Coming in Chicago, Dan, I mean, there's a guy who, is in search of an IMDb citation. So you never know where you can get him. Got a face for radio, but whatever.
Yeah, go check out Bulls the movie. The darting community is a great community, and it's really reflected in this film. It's a whole lot of fun, and hope you all enjoy it out there. So go check out Bulls the movie. Dropping tomorrow, select theaters and on demand and on streaming platforms. All right, Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, Pete, we're going to take a transition now, and we want to let everybody know, if you want to stay in the know with the CDC, sign up for the CDC newsletter to be the first to get your latest news, tips on improving your own dart game, special offers, discounts, and insider info. You can go to champdarts.info/in-the-know, and you get signed up for that. It really is a great thing. You get inside tips on upcoming news, clips from the show. Our sponsors, offer up some great products and giveaways and, contests that you can enter. So it's totally worthwhile to get jumped on the CDC newsletter. All right. So Pete, that was a lot of fun.
Dan's a great guy. I always enjoy just hanging out with him, and we've had a couple of meals, and he's just a fun guy to be around, right? So I could not be happier for him, and again, what I said, the whole team they were just great. They really were.
So let's now talk a little bit about what I want to do is split this segment into sort of two mini segments. All right. It's been a while. We're entering, goodness, I'm starting to lose track, the 12th year of the championship dart circuit. Right. And I remember in the early days, we did a little piece, some graphics and a little video on, how the whole system works. And we are super excited as to sort of what this year's going to bring. And it feels palpable that there's a lot of players out there who are, much to our chagrin that it's taken over a decade, but you do seem to have some players like, I'm going to check out this CDC thing, right? So what I want to do is let's kind of talk about what makes up the CDC, like as a player, how you would traverse the CDC and kind of, what makes it go. All right. So we're going to let's sort of pause for a second. Wish we had a little clapboard and be like, boom. how does the CDC work?
So obviously we are North America's professional darts tour. We are the path to the pros, truly. I mean, we are professional, but we are also the path to the world professionals, right? And so really the crux of the system centers around the tour card system. Similar, it's no secret we got it, right? I mean, there are good ideas, so we're going to steal them. The PDC uses them, golf uses them, so, why not us? And so, we when we started, we had these open qualifiers, and anybody could come and play and try to qualify and get in to play the top 48, right? It was like 48-16 was kind of the way we originally drawn it up. But as you expand, as the business dictates, those qualifiers took time. And there's time where we needed to expand and we needed to put events, right? And so if you've got a qualifier, you can't add events. And so we decided we're going to close it out. Move to kind of a Q, more of a Q school system. So if you want to join the CDC, you can hit up any one of our Q schools. We're adding another one. We'll make the announcement on here in the next couple of days. I keep getting questions about online Q schools. We'll get those up too. So basically, that's where your journey begins, right? Your journey begins in the professional side. Your journey begins at CDC Q school. And so you play, you qualify, either we give out a number of cards depending on how many entries we have in the Q school, and then that earns you the right to play on the tour. And the tour itself this year is made up of 16 events, right? 16 events, plus we've got some qualifiers for the PDC US Darts Masters. We'll get information about that.
Exactly. We're gonna look at the schedule and what cool kind of bells and whistles in our second part to this. So,
right.
Is it only tour card holders that can play exclusively?
In the main events, it is tour card holders that can play. Now, we also have a series, and you can also get with the CDC if you're interested in just kind of seeing how the events operate. We run these events with partner tournaments. They're all wonderful events called the Summer Series. And so, we were, for example, just throw out a location. We were in Charlotte last year. And so you can actually come and get a sense of what really is the event like, because we run those just like we run a CDC event, but they're open registration. So it gives you a chance to really dip your toes in the water. And then also, we also give tour cards to the top performer, a tour card to the top performer on that series over the number of events. There's money to be won, right? There's $2,000 events. We might increase them a little bit this year. So, I mean, if you're going to be on site there anyway, it's a great way to go out and support another tournament you might not normally go to. And then you get a chance to play a CDC event as well. And, the symbiotic relationship that we have with our partner events really, is important to us. They look forward to having us there. We look forward to being there, and I think that it really fosters cooperation among different organizers, and that really, at the end of it, a rising tide lifts all boats.
But let's say weekend 2, we've got less than 64 entries. Is that it, or is there anybody else that gets an opportunity outside of a tour card holder to play?
That's why I went to the Summer Series. So at that point, those people in the Summer Series, and also people who played Q School and didn't get cards, they end up on our CDC Associates list. And the CDC Associates list, you're ranked from 1 to whatever the amount of people are on the Associates list. And if we end up not having 64 players register into the main events, right? Because tour card holders get exclusive priority at the beginning. You're a tour card holder, you want to play, you come play. So we could have up to 90 plus people at a given event. Schedules being what they are, sometimes we end up just shy of the 64 mark, and so then we extend invitations to the Associates list in order based on their point standings, and they get a chance to say yes, I want to play, or no, I don't want to play. And if they want to play, they pay an entry fee, and then they come and they play for the day or the event, right? And it's a great way to reward the people who have tried to come through the system. Last year we had a gentleman named Nick McCoy. Nick played every Q school he could play. He played every Summer Series he could get to, and just kept falling just one round short. Literally in every Q school was one round short. And so, he really every time we gave him a chance to come play, he came and played, and he acquitted himself well in the tour, and he played himself right into a tour card. So, Nick's going to be with us for the next 2 years. I know he's really happy about that. But again, that's another compelling reason to come and play both the Q School Series And the Summer Series.
And the Summer Series, yeah, they both contribute to that list. Exactly. So in a nutshell, we do also have an association with what's called the Dart Players Tours around the United States. Is approximately 16 of them, sort of a mini version of what the CDC does in regions, and we do award those winners on a yearly basis with some tour cards. But in a nutshell, the way to play CDC is to get out to the Q schools, because you're either A, going to win yourself a card, or B, earn some points and be on that associates list to get that opportunity. So, as Pete's laying out, we start the year with, it fluctuates a bit, but just for this conversation, anywhere around 128 card holders. It's a little over 100, 128, and we set off on that journey. And we've got 16 events, like Pete said, and there's your CDC system. So what we'll do now is let's pull up the.
I will say this. Let me say one more thing, just in response to what you said. So, I get the feeling, especially with the announcements that we may will talk about them in a second, that this year we're probably not going to have a lot of spots in 64 for the associates. So at some point, I'd like, and we've talked about this, we'd like to bump up that number to 80, right? That would be the number that we would shoot for.
Yeah. So let's talk about the event. So if you want to walk us through, what this year looks like, and then we'll sort of cap this with, we'll circle back to this is what's going on this year, and then we'll come back to the immediate future that, tomorrow is a Q school in Philly, and February is jam packed. But this is what the players that have cards and the players are going to earn cards are going to look at for 2026.
Sure. And we start with, this is probably my second favorite, because who doesn't like the Continental Cup? But I love the cross-border darts challenge. I think that we really hit a home run when we put this together, if I do say so myself. We're taking it north of the border this year. We've got the top 6 Canadians against the top 6 Americans from last year, and there'll be 2 wild cards on each side that the CDC will select. We'll name them in a bit, and they're just going to go beat each other up in front of hundreds of fans at the Deer Lake Annex there in Deer Lake, Newfoundland. I'm really happy that we finally made this come together. We've known we've needed to get it to Canada for a long time. It's only fair, right, to take a cross border on the other side of the border. But I know that we've got a venue that, man, they're passionate about the game there. I don't think there's any place in North America that's more passionate about darts than Atlantic Canada. And so I think that you're going to find that those seats will sell out real quick. Then we open our regular tour events, right? So in May, we go to Niagara Falls, another favorite venue for a lot of people. 2 events and a U.S. Darts Masters qualifier. In June, we go back to Philadelphia. I'm excited that we're going to have another regular tour stop there. It's been a while since we've been there, and those guys have been great to us. So June, again, 3 and 4 in the U.S. Darts Masters qualifier. Should mention that even if you're not a tour card holder, even if you've never played a Summer Series, even if you've never played a Q school, if you want to come and throw your hat in the ring and try to qualify for the U.S. Darts Masters, those qualifiers are open. The main events are not, but the qualifiers are open. So, look for details on that. And then we move to another wonderful venue for us. It's probably, the players, the getting there can be a bit stressful, but once you're there, man, it is like you're home and you've never left. The folks at the American Legion down in Brownsburg, Indiana, always take care of us. So we're there for July 17, 18, and 19. We then move on to another place. We've got, I say this, and we've just been so lucky with venues. The Holiday Inn Oak Brook, Robin and the team at the Holiday Inn Oak Brook here in the Chicago area they bend over backwards. So we're there twice, August 28th through 30th, September 18th through 20th. So that'll be another 6 events there in Chicago, 3 each weekend. And then we close this year going back to Canada. So October 16th, 17th, and 18th will be at the Parkway Conference Center, the Holiday Inn Express there, or Holiday Inn Suites, excuse me. It's in St. Catharines. If you are a Ontario dart player, the Holiday Inn in St. Catharines, Ontario. You've played there. And then, of course, the Continental Cup. The Continental Cup, really the crowning accomplishment of the tour, right? Really, it's something that you and I have really taken a lot of great pride in, as have all the principals, in being able to really put on a top-notch show. And there's a lot riding on that. I mean, the winner of that is, it's essentially with your prize fund plus everything else. It's a
Hold
ton
back on that. We'll jump into that in a second because there is a ton of stuff. We will get into that.
He's reining me in, folks. He's reining me in.
He reigned it yet. So yeah, the Continental Cup. I just want to remind everybody that I am monitoring the chat room. So on Facebook and YouTube, if you have questions for Pete and I, we will, as the season comes to closer, we'll do another one of these sessions. So if you really want some nuts and bolts about what's coming up for the CDC, we'll give you another chance. But if there's anything on your mind, let me know now, and we'll try and address that as well. So now, Pete, I want to stay here in the circuit, and that's what bringing us in. Now let's talk about the recent big announcement from the PDC regarding affiliates, what that means for the players and the prize funds in here, and then also the increased opportunities now. Not that they weren't stellar before, but there's just been a little sweeter as we go into 26.
Yeah. So where to start? I'm ecstatic that we just inked another 3-year extension to our partnership with the Professional Darts Corporation. We have a lot of fans over there, and the relationship that we have with them really is obviously key to the growth and the success of not only CDC but darts across the continent. I firmly believe that. And so Matt Porter, Dave Allen, and I went back and forth on a couple things, and we got it done. And I was really ecstatic about that, because it was kind of it really gives you certainty, not only as an organizer, but as a player. It gives you certainty that, hey, this thing is just going from strength to strength. And so, with that extension announcement, we made the announcement that we're going to raise the payouts on the main tour to $250,000. So, to kind of put that in perspective, that's roughly, from a main tour perspective, it's a roughly $26,000 increase over last year. And to me, obviously I don't want to get over my skis, but that's just a stepping stone. I want to be at 300, and I know we can get there pretty quickly. And then, as you've heard me say in other interviews that I've done, this is going to $1 million. At some point, we are going to $1 million. That is the flag I've planted, and we're going to bust our butts to get there. And I know that the excitement, the players are going to support that, and the growth, and really kind of throw their hats into the ring, and it's going to be great. So that's the payouts, right? Money's great, and we'll announce we're going to be increasing the Continental Cup payouts. We're going to be increasing the Cross Border Darts Challenge payouts. Obviously, the tour payouts are increasing. So we'll get all those numbers out to you. Give us a little bit. But the other really kind of cool thing is, this was true last year, but I want to shout it from the rooftops. You win the Cross Border Darts Challenge, you are at MSG and you are at Alley Pally. You win the Continental Cup, and you are at the Grand Slam of Darts, potentially at Alley Pally, depending upon whether a spot exists there or not, depending what happens at the championship.
Yeah, you had to kind of reverse. No, Alley Pally's a definite. Grand Slam is on.
Right. Sorry, Alley Pally's definite. The Grand Slam is my fault. You're right. I reversed it. But yes,
and the Garden
and the card. Right. Right. And so. The other, one of the things that was kind of refreshing was, you want to go to PDCQ school, you come through, you're in a top, our top 8 are going to get complimentary entries to PDCQ school. Our tour champion gets, and you see it with Adam Savada, gets a exemption through to stage 2. Same thing is happening with our partner tour down in Latin America and the Caribbean. So those are opportunities that are coming as well. Potential World Cup opportunities. There's just so much to talk about.
Still the 8 spots at the Winmar World Masters.
Winmar World Masters, correct. That's coming up at the end of this month. See, Anthony, I'm letting you kind of get some stuff in here too.
Well, I know a little bit too, but I mean, that's the reward for the players who played in 25. Some of these, it's a great combination of some long-term benefits, investing in playing, investing in earning those points that put you on the order of merit, and puts you in a few positions. And then there's some of the yearly benefits, and that's what so if you're a new player starting this season, from scratch, just like everybody else. It's gonna be a foot race to get into the Continental Cup. So as Pete said, that's a biggie right there. The Win More World Masters, and possibly next year's cross border. So there is value in investment, but there is also a whole lot to be played for and won right here in the 1 year stretch.
Sure, and I want us to kind of give a shout out. The top guys have gotten a lot of recognition, deservedly so, right? But there's a lot of real good talent that's starting to really come into their own. Kind of middle of the pack that are only improving week over week. And so, we're going to give them a little nod. We're going to expand the Continental Cup field this year to 24 players. So I'm really excited about being able to do that. That, again, rewards more people, gets them into a big competition, gets them a little taste of what that is. And that's just another step on their journey, right? Because, again, the whole point here is we want to grow where you've got a player base. You bring them in through your youth. They get in through CDC. They start climbing the ranks. They get to the top of the ranks. Then they make the jump over to the PDC, right? I mean, that's our dream, right? And then they move on, and somebody else is there to fill their place. And we just have basically a farm system going, and it continues to grow. But we also have plenty of opportunities here in North America as well. And that's you're going to see us try to do some cool stuff there over the next few years as well.
And that is breaking news. Everybody, Continental expand to 24 players at the end of the 2026 season. So that is a biggie right there, as Pete said. So as you hit that second half of the season, that will sort of change the dynamic of what's in front of you. As you hit those last few events. So let's now sort of circle back, but tie it all together with a look at the Q School. So this again is the start of your path. If you are not a player who has retained a tour card coming out of last year, this is your path. All right. So let me put up. You've got Champ Darts right there on the graphic. So if you go to champdarts.com, you will find on the homepage a drop-down arrow that will bring you right to the Q School page. And this information will be there. A breakdown of what the Q School event is like, play. And then this calendar, and the registrations open up as we get closer. But you can see there for yourself that we're hitting a really massive stretch. Tomorrow, January 9th, Philadelphia, and that's going to be a big one in that we're there weekend 2, right? You've got players in the area going to play for their card, knowing that they've got an event coming in with that U.S. Masters qualifier. And then we've got some Canadian events. And then what do we have? 5 in February. So, lots going to go on in the next 6 to 7 weeks from a CDC Q School perspective.
And again, we're going to add, there's going to be another Canadian one, news to come on that. We just locked that down today. And then it's a big place we've never been before. And then we also are going to add 1, probably 2, to be honest, online Q schools to give the players that just can't get out and make some of these events their chance as well. It's interesting that our online Q School winners have come through and really shown on the actual tour. It's not like they just stayed home, right? They've come through and done well. So really excited for this. You mentioned tomorrow, we just set a pre-registration record for Q schools. We've got 59 players pre-registered. We get to that 64 mark, which I'm pretty confident we will, at least 64. Then we got 8 cards going out in Philadelphia. So it used to be the Buckeye was number 1 and Philadelphia was number 2. I think they're going to leapfrog each other this year. Still, we love our folks in Ohio, and they do great as well. But I can just see these numbers across the country really starting to take off again, as all the stuff we've talked about starts to make its way into the consciousness of dart players across the continent. That there's no reason not to be there.
Yeah, we love the competition. Let's drive up the numbers between the Q schools. So let's promo that for a little bit. Run the ticker. So as we talked about, this is your shot to get into the CDC. You can earn your card, and if you don't, you will also earn some points, which puts you on the associate list, and that gives you an opportunity later in the season to play in a championship darts circuit event. So again, go check out the lineup at champdarts.com. If you also, I will shill as well. If you have an interest, if you're in an area that you think you can host a Q school, we do, have some specs. So if you want to email us at info@champdarts.com or contact us on social media, we can discuss, we do want to expand these. We do want to give as many players in North America the opportunity to play CDC darts. All right. So with that down, let's get that moved out of the way. Mr. Citera, any last things on that Q school before we move into?
No, I would also just say that, if you host an event and you've got an event that's on the dart calendar, and you've got at least $7,500, $10,000 tournament, you're interested, and you're in the summer, because our Q schools tend to run in the winter, right? Because we got to get them done before our season starts. But we also have summer series opportunities as well, always looking to expand that. The more that we can do to give more players the opportunity to play darts more often, to steal a line from my friend David Maher at Dart Connect, I think that everybody just benefits.
Absolutely. And so, as Pete said, we will have some summer series out in the next month or so. We want to get you the exciting news that's in the pipeline for the cross border first. Get that stuff out, those lineups, get the tickets, out and get that underway, and then we'll have some summer series stuff. So, all right, Mr. Citera, let's transition now to a place that you just spent a little bit of time at, over at the Alley Pally. Pete was over in London for the 2025/2026 PDC Paddy Power World Darts Championship. All right, so let's give you, Pete. We're going to focus on North America with you. We're going to talk to Richard Ashdown afterwards about the tournament as a whole from his perspective over there. But we'll get into the players in a second. Your perspective, as a dart enthusiast and a guy in the business, what an amazing event this year.
Yeah, it just, the addition of that million pound champion it really can't be understated how important that was. There's always a buzz in Alley Pally. Alley Pally is just, that and the Winter Gardens are just the two legendary venues in our game. And they just come with so much gravitas. And being in the venue, there's always a buzz, like I said, but this year the buzz was definitely even bigger than before. I kind of gauge how things are going with the number of occupied seats in the media room. And typically, in the early rounds, there's fewer occupied seats, and then as they progress, more people decide to make the journey to London to get their butts in the media room seats. But this year, I mean, there were, for some of those first round matches, I struggled to get a seat. Usually I've got a nice little seat. I mean, I was right up front kind of when I was there, kind of with my computer open, but that's kind of where I call home base most of the time. But it was like, I was trying to stand in the room only there for a bit. So really, really awesome experience. The venue, if you haven't gotten there, you got to get there. And, obviously for me, this one was also, not just for me, but for the sport as well. I mean, this one was just bittersweet, right? We said goodbye to John McDonald, the man who really made the MC role. We said goodbye to George Noble as a PDC official. Both of them have been dear friends of mine for a number of years. So selfishly, obviously, I was saddened and wish it could have continued. But you wish them the best in their retirement. I know George has got a whole bunch of things going on. He's going to be busier than ever. John's going to go retire to spend a lot of time in Spain, and God bless him. But that's
well earned.
Was that?
Well earned.
Absolutely. Amen. And that, that's certainly will always live in memory too. It was a proper fitting send off for them both. The PDC did great tributes, and again, you're right. Well deserved. Just absolutely well deserved.
All right. Before we get into the results of some of the North American players, we've got two different questions. One in YouTube asking, is the CDC card a 12-month or a 24-month card, Pete?
24 months. We actually made that change. It was a gradual transition, and we completed that transition last year. So if you earned your tour card last year or this year, if last year was your first year or this year becomes your first year, you will have a 24-month card. And then at the end of 24 months, you have to be, I'm not going to say where, because we're looking at where we're going to move that bar to in terms of requalifying. But that will, your card will expire at the end of the second year. If you're not requalified based on merit, you'll have to go back to Q school.
And Facebook is asking, when do tickets go on sale for the cross border in Newfoundland?
That is a good question. It's the question of the day. I would say they'll be on sale within the next 5 days.
Okay.
We're working with, as you might imagine, we're an American company. We're selling tickets in Canada, so there's stuff that we got to do, figure out how we're going to do it. We have our own ticketing platform, just a little behind the scenes here. We have our own ticketing platform that we use, but it doesn't play well with Canadian dollars, so it's finding another ticket platform that does. So all of that work that you don't see is pretty much complete. We're putting together the actual the floor plan into the ticketing system, and then you'll see it go live.
All right. So let's get back to the PDC World Championship and the not just North Americans and South Americans, essentially the Western Hemisphere. We and truly we are blessed and graced to have a hand in this entire hemisphere, getting them out to play major events on the world stage. We'll go in chronological order, and then you can give us a little touchstone, because you talk to a lot of these players before their matches and saw a lot of this. So we start off with Gabriel Clemens playing Alex Spellman, and Clemens 3-0. That was on Saturday, December 13th.
Yeah, I'd like to say this was a good match. It really wasn't. Alex, I know he prepared for it. He was practicing. He was optimistic. He was upbeat. And, sometimes you just have a bad day at the office. And that was the story of this match. It was very winnable. Had Alex played Alex's game, I think he would have won that match. But he didn't. And sometimes that just happens on stage. It just is what it is. So, you walk away and you live to fight another day. And obviously Alex will be, looking to get back there beginning with the cross border.
Next up, we saw the Neon Nightmare. He played on Sunday, December 14th. He went down 3-1 to James Hurl.
Yeah, and this is one where if you look at the stats, it is just an even match. Like literally, it was evenly played in pretty much every stat. There was like a 1.5 difference in average. The checkout percentage was close. Really, it came down to timing. Stowe won 8 legs to Hurl's 10. But the key deciders didn't go his way. And that's how many times have you heard a commentator talk about timing? And that's the story. That's just the story in this match. Unfortunate for Stowe, another winnable match, and it just came out on the wrong side of it.
And then we turn the calendar to the next day, December 15th, saw Excalibur David Cameron play Minsur Sulovic, but it went Minsur's way 3-1.
Yeah, this is the point where I'm starting to get little needling from Matt Porter, like, "Hey, you guys going to win one here? You're due for a win, right?" And so I really was looking forward to this match. I thought Dave probably was favored, should have won the match. But let's face it, Mensur came out and shot the way Mensur hasn't shot in years, right? He averaged 94 to Dave's 92. He had it felt like he had every checkout he looked at. I mean, it was in the 30%, the 30s, somewhere in the 30s on checkout percentage. And then look, he lived up to the moment. Dave played well. Dave played real well.
Yeah. Oh, certainly.
But then, Mensur took the opportunities. And then he went out and just laid an absolute turd against Joe Cullen, right? Averaging 82, got through it basically because of the gamesmanship. I mean, let's face it. Let's call it what it is. And then he got himself creamed by Littler. I mean, yeah, he threw a 96 in the Littler match, but that was only because he never had a chance to look at essentially looking at it, right? Littler was so far ahead of him, he couldn't see him.
So now we get to a place where Pete's life gets a little easier. He walks in the media room with his popcorn and kind of looks at everybody like, I got one here. We got the Savada Campbell match, which, in fairness, it was that double-edged sword where, yes, you're going to get through, but it was going to be at the expense of one of our flock, which is painful to watch and go through, right? There's no good answer in here, but they played, and I love that they sort of opened up the session. It felt really special. It was special to all of us on this continent, and kind of the scheduling made it feel that way. Adam Savada, the overall CDC number 1, gets through 3-1 over the holder, PDC tour card holder in the group, in Matt Campbell.
Yeah, and how do you look at this and pick a side, right? You can't. I mean, not that I'm generally picking a side in matches anyway, but like, even as somebody who will sit back and, when I'm standing there, even if our guys are playing, I don't react. If you're wearing the badge, you don't react. But I mean, even if I wanted to react, who am I going to react for? Like, Campbell is a CDC guy. I know he's got a PDC tour.
Yeah, certainly.
But he's a CDC guy, and he would say that. He has said that. Like, he's there because he decided to come to an event in Ontario one day and waltzed into the final against Darren Young.
And to quote Jay Tomlinson, I don't know how you hand out them tour card thingies, but this guy needs one.
But the match again, I know it was 3-1, could have very easily been 3-2. Adam averages 88, Matt averages 90, but Adam's doubles. Adam was, again, 36% on doubles, and it was all about the timing. And, I know Matt is going to feel like, damn it, I had another gear. And we've all seen he's got another gear. That's the thing about Matt Campbell, is he has what it takes to be top 32, potentially top 16 in the world. He's got that game. And so you really felt that it was going to come out there. They were just going to beat the living daylights out of each other. And, obviously Matt did average 90, but he's going to leave that going dagnabbit.
Exactly. And the thing I love about the Campbell talent is that's not just us noticing that, not just us, wanting to see that. You hear that on PDC broadcasts and different shows around the internet all the time. They can see the talent that Matt Campbell has, and it's just a matter of it all. Again, you talked about the timing. It's a game of it's all just sort of gotta go together at the same time, and it's a tough one. We move into another North American victory though. Leonard Gates plays Mickey Mansell on Friday, December 19th. Soldier, the reigning cross-border champion, as a matter of fact, gets through 3-2.
He gets through 3-2, but this is a game where the scoreline doesn't really tell the story. Leonard destroyed Mickey in this one in every single category other than checkouts. He almost out-averaged by 8 points, 9 points. What kept Mickey in the match? I mean, if you look at 180s, they were even, but looking at things like 140s, 20-6 in favor of Gates, right? Everything went Gates's way except Mansell was almost 50% on doubles, right? And he took every look he got, and to be fair, Gates gave him a couple of looks he probably shouldn't have, and that's why it was close. Again, more timing, but yeah, I mean, this one could have very easily gone 3-0 given the difference in play. The other thing that's of note in this match is, Leonard's. It's hard to get the Alley Pally crowd behind you, right? Especially if you're a Yank. And here's Leonard coming in with the goggles and the dancing and the crowd just ate up every last bit of it.
Chanting USA, USA, for goodness sakes.
I mean, exactly. I mean, and if you're Mickey, you're like, come on. But yeah, I mean, they're chanting US, and he goes in, he talks about his hater blockers, and I mean, the interview, the media room interview after that was just vintage Gates.
The yarn that was spun about those goggles was amazing. He was coming up with it on the fly. It just was great.
But it worked. And again, he had everybody in the media room eating out of his hand too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, to his credit, that's stuff that you just can't, you can't just instill. That is a gift, and it's a gift that we admire, because it is a part of this game. So now we finish up, the last games of the first round of the representatives from this side of the pond. We go down the CDLC, player. And Jesus Salate played Ryan Meikle, 3-0 to Meikle. Jesus's debut, and so give us a little bit on what went on in this match.
Yeah, this is one where the scoreline did tell the story.
Yeah,
Meikle was just better. I mean, it was just better. Jesus barely averaged 80. And I know I talk about averages. I know there's so much more, obviously, than averages. We all say that averages aren't everything. But when you look at a guy like Jesus getting up there throwing an 80, it's just not his game. It certainly wasn't what we saw at the World Cup. Whether you're more comfortable playing pairs or it's a lonely place up there on that World Championship stage. And in your debut, there's nothing that prepares you for it. I'm not making excuses for him. He wouldn't make excuses for him either. But I know he wants it back. It just there's nothing to say other than it wasn't his day, and Ryan played better. Ryan didn't even need to play, unfortunately, his best game to get through that one.
So now we go into the second round, and Leonard Gates moves into a matchup with Nathan Aspinall Monday, December 22nd, and the Asp gets the better of Soldier 3-0.
Yeah, this one just kind of felt like a slog, to be honest. I know 91 played 88, so the quality was okay, but Gates just couldn't get it going. I mean, everything he had against Mickey, he didn't have against Nathan. It just the energy. I mean, the walk-in was fine, right? But it just felt like he was just struggling. He was just trying to get the gear and just couldn't find it, which again happens, right? But he only won 3 legs across the entire match. This one was over pretty quick, and to be honest, it's probably a good thing.
So we'll move on into what you almost hoped the best for last, if you will, a match that definitely had the potential to be a sort of cracking and sizzling match, and then just unfortunately just wasn't. And Charlie Manby gets the better of Adam Savada 3-0 also on that Monday, the 22nd.
And look, the world's been talking about Charlie Manby. Darts world's been talking about Charlie Manby for a while now, right? He's impressed on the Dev Tour. He's an impressive player. He played really well. I mean, and again, every time you got to look at something, it went in. You could put a blindfold on the guy and let him throw it, and it was going to find the double. I think he was, if he wasn't over 50, he was down close to 50% on his doubles. And just Adam didn't play well. I mean, he was down, again, right around 80. It might have even been slightly below. It's another match he's going to want back. But, let's talk about Adam for a second. Let's talk about the story there, right? Because obviously he's played on stages. He's played at MSG. He has not performed well on that stage. He did perform well against Matt Campbell. So you got the monkey off your back, right? The fact that you have a bad game in the second round against Charlie Manby, obviously you want to have a better game. You want to see good numbers. You want to advance. But at least you had the good game first. So now you look at that and it's like, all right, it is what it is. Move on to the next one. I know what the stage is. I know I can win on the stage. And it's just going to make him better.
So let's hide that for a second and talk a little bit about as truthful as we can be. If we're going to do this analysis, let's be honest. We're also administrators in this whole thing, so we also have to tread lightly a little bit. But I don't know if it's a matter of us setting our expectation level so high or the expectation levels being truthful. We saw a spectrum as you just laid out, right? We had some good performances, we had some good doubling performances, we had some scoring performances, from different folks. We had some other performances that were subpar, disappointing, whether it be playing wise or just that thing that always we struggle with, that they didn't look comfortable, that sort of thing. Bottom line is, at this point, it's wins. We certainly need more wins. We know the talent is there. The experience is starting to accumulate. And so now it's really for us as a whole community, it's W's.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've said the same thing in other interviews. People have looked at us as growing, as maturing for a number of years, right? So you get a little goodwill, you get a lot of rope to play with. But you said it. I mean, it's time. The goodwill doesn't cut it anymore. You got to get up on the stage and you got to get some W's. And again, people are going to have bad days. It happens.
Of
It happens
course.
to the best players in the world. But we've got to get our guys up there. We've got to get them winning matches. We've got to get them into the second round, into the third round, into the fourth round. There's 128 players in that event right now. And I know on paper, our guys are overall better than they have performed historically. You know that. I know that. Everybody out there watching this podcast knows that. So it's a matter of, let's just get out. You belong.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it, right? I mean, how many times have we said it? Back in 2015, when we started this whole thing, our first year, people that we had been sending over to Ali Pally, through no fault of their own, but it was like they were just, you kind of wanted to draw the North American because, it was, they didn't have the infrastructure to keep getting better. They gave it their all. They played okay, but that wasn't there. Now it is, right? Yeah. Now it is. Nobody wants to draw a North American, and we got to continue that. We don't want to go back to the area where people are like, yeah, I really kind of want to draw the CDC guy. No, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to us. It's not acceptable to the players. It's time to start proving that we are there for a reason, and we know we are.
And I hope we brought a balanced approach to that because it was good that you went through a bunch of the matches to say, I'll admit it. I want to start to go maybe too harsh to say, we need more W's, but how much in there is there, like you said, about, Adam gets his win on stage. Let's put that to bed a little bit. So there's definitely there's strong suits in there. There's things to build on. It's just the simple fact that they need to be built on. We can't go. It's next year is not a learning year. Next year is a victory year.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and that's just the motif going forward. And we just need to continue to give them opportunities to beat each other up and get better. And look, the CDC rankings and averages that you're seeing on the tour don't lie. So we've got guys, I'm just going to throw out some names, right? We've got guys like Caden Newberry. We got guys like Danny Young. I mean, there are some young, good, Jacob Brooks, obviously he had to step aside to go do some stuff for his professional life. But, those guys, Jake Womack, those guys are guys that they're there. They're ready. They're hungry. Yeah. So
they got chops. Yeah. Like you said, we invite anybody to take a deep dive into those, Dark Connect numbers. You watch the growth. Those are numbers and they go deep. So, to go back to the earlier announcement, very proper to give, an expanded Continental Cup field a chance to mix it up, because there's guys that are talented that, on any given day, why not me? Certainly in the Continental Cup. I want your take on one other North American sort of related thing, and then I'll give you a chance to wrap up on anything else in the world. The fact that we sat, I know I did, I've got a PDC subscription, and I know it's on a couple other platforms and stuff, but it really was fantastic to sit on, nearly, I could go see friends and family, sit on any comfortable couch around, pull up the TV and pull up Peacock, and boom, it was there. Every session, you could put it in your queue. It popped right up for you. You could watch it on replay, which was wonderful. The holidays got busy, and as much as I want to see every darn thing, there were times where those morning sessions, I started them around noon. And the quality, it was all of the high quality product from Sky through Peacock. And, not only Peacock, but NBC itself backed that. There was a replay of the final on the Sunday, January 4th. So, your take on that, and then if you've got any sort of insight scuttlebutt that you've heard on the reception of it being on Peacock.
Well, I can't share any numbers. I've talked to Matt a little bit about it. Can't share any numbers. That's for them to talk about. But again, I mean, you hit it. Man, this felt like just another gargantuan step for the sport, right? It's a mainstream streaming platform. Anybody can get. They featured it. You didn't have to dig to find it. Most days, it was right there in front of you, screaming in your face, right? So if you're a person just kind of sitting on your couch going, "What the heck do I want to watch? Let's put on Peacock because what is this darts thing?" I mean, and let's face it, here in the U.S., we need more people to find it to be able to go, wow, this is a thing. And the Peacock thing was, I'm going to kind of go a little bit off script here, but the Peacock thing was just kind of not only was it a big step, but man, we had darts on NBC, not NBC Sports, not Peacock, although it was on Peacock clearly. We had darts on over the air, mainstream NBC. How do you look at that and go and think anything other than, man, we would never have dreamed of this 10, 15, 20 years ago.
No, I got messages. I got messages both on the Peacock thing directly from the NFL package. You know, somebody's watching NFL Sunday Night Football, and then that week it was, you know, you might like this on Peacock. And then, yeah, I got a message. People are scrolling through their Dish Network, and it's like, there's darts on TV. And I was like, yes, there is. How fantastic is that?
Yep. I mean, I got a bunch of those things as well. So, I mean, we're on Peacock, we're on, you know, and mainstream NBC, and then, you know, one of the most watched podcasts in all of sports has a great segment on it. I mean, yeah, sure.
Oh, right. Yeah, all right. Sorry. Yeah.
I tell you what, I'll take 1/12 the views that Pat McAfee gets, but you know, we can dream. But you know, Pat McAfee has a segment on it. Like, it felt from the podcast perspective, it felt very much like, remember when Ariel Helwani picked up on it 2 years ago, and you were like, oh wow, this is because he's got a huge podcast. Well, McAfee picked up on it last year. He picked up on it again this year. You know, again, it's just getting more notice, getting into the mainstream consciousness. This came out in the interview I did with Online Darts, but one of the biggest challenges we face here is that the sports cycle, the news cycle, the media cycle around any sporting event is about 3.8 nanoseconds these days, right? And so you've got to keep getting out there and getting in front of people, and then they might remember that, oh yeah, right before everybody started talking about the NFL playoffs, we had this darts thing. And eventually it does continue to percolate, and you do get people like, hey, what is this all about? And they go from there.
Yeah, and thanks for the tying in the Pat McAfee thing, because I'll tie the Peacock, and you could tell that he's got two guys on there, Boston Connor and Ty Schmidt. They were the guys that were driving the coverage, meaning that they were bringing stuff to Pat, but you could tell that they were watching this tournament, and I'm sure it being the ease of having it on Peacock had a lot to do with that. I was just going to go search for that clip, but we've got Richard Ashdown coming up next, and a lot to do. You can find that clip on the CDC social medias. It's definitely worth watching, and you got to watch it in the right context, folks. He's talking about all major sports in the United States, NFL being his primary one. So it's don't take it as a goof. They may not know exactly the ins and outs of the verbiage, but you could tell that they are very much moved by the atmosphere at that alley pally. And I think that's the driver, that this is sport in front of a party, and that's making an impact on somebody who covers all of the main, big time mainstream sports. So that, like you said, another big moment for North American coverage.
Yeah, no doubt. You're right about the verbiage. People are fixating on the verbiage, right? I'm looking at comments because it's been posted all over socials, and people are fixating, these guys don't know what they're talking about. Well, you know what? You're right. They don't know as much as you do, or I do, or Anthony does. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you're starting somewhere, and that somewhere is one of the biggest podcasts in all of the United States, I mean, I fail to see how that's anything but amazing.
Agreed.
Give them a pass. Let them find the sport.
Yeah, perfect way to put it. Give them because me, Pete, and maybe you out there, would be drawn to the amount of legs somebody won, or the averages. These guys are going to be drawn immediately to the idea, well, that looks like fun, and that's how we're going to hook people. That's where we get to people, and then they peek behind the curtains and find out what are the intricacies of the sport. But the first splash has got to be, that just looks like flat out fun, a good night of entertainment, whether it be in person, on TV, and I want to be part of it.
And look, we got MSG, right? Come on. Hey, Pat, if you're watching this show, I got connections. Come over to MSG. We'll get you there in June. Watch the U.S. Darts Masters. Watch the North American Championship. It is a crowd that feels just like the one that you noted at Alley Pally, and it's right here in your backyard. So get down there, get in touch. and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, Petey will make it happen. So anything you want to close on, I mean, it was such a spectacular tournament, but, bottom line is Mr. Littler here goes back-to-back and is a two-time back-to-back PDC world champion.
Yeah, I mean, the final was anticlimactic, unfortunately. I think the moment got to Jan. And let's face it, Jan van Veen is a hell of a dart player. Obviously, I wish that we would have seen the second set go his way, just because that then I think makes it a completely different match. Not that I think Littler doesn't come back and win, just because he's got the depth, but that really kind of set the tone, and it just got out of hand, I think, a little bit too quickly. Look, I mean, you've heard all the dart pundits talk about it. You don't need to hear me bloviate about it, but again, it was, the kid is the kid, right? Nobody can look at him anymore, and he's won everything you've thrown at him almost, right? So this is not a story of it's a kid done good. It's a story of, this is the best player in the world, and he's going to exert his will until somebody stops him from exerting his will.
And that's it. And that's the bottom line, because Peter Citera said so.
Well, I'll say there was something else I liked about this. Now, this World Championship, not about Littler, not about the player, the commentary. A lot of people started coming into their own on this one. We're starting to hear some new voices. I love that for the sport. I like the fact that we've got new voices coming in. But, the amount of people that raved about the radio coverage, Talk Sport, you had, Paul Nicholson, you had Chris Mason, the amount of people that raved about that. I mean, I gave it a listen when I wasn't at Alley Pally on Talk Sport.
Super convenient.
It's like freaking darts. You start thinking like, darts on the radio? Are you kidding me? But I mean, they make it come alive. They're great. And then, in the studio or in the commentary teams, look, people like Polly James doing interviews. She got a chance to do Littler's winter interview.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I'll give me the interview, and then let's circle back to Polly and doing commentary.
I mean, that was a big moment for her, and she rose to the occasion. I love Polly; she's fantastic. But it was good to see her get that opportunity. We see Abby all the time, and Abby's great in her own right. But I'm really glad that Polly got a chance to do that.
Yep.
And then in the booth, Dan Dawson continues to show why.
Before you move on to stay. I was surprised nobody talked about it. And listen, I'll be first and foremost. I'm a meritocracy guy. You can do it or you can't do it, right? But it still is worthy of note. There was an afternoon match where I tuned in. It was Polly James and Abigail Davies, two women doing commentary together for the PDC World Championship. That was definitely of note. I can't recall. I've known both of them to do it with Laura Turner in the mix. But to have two ladies in the commentary at the same time, I thought was a first.
And it was great. I mean, I didn't get a chance to actually watch that match and hear the commentary. I knew they were in there, but I'm glad to hear that it went over well. I mean, let's face it, they both understand the sport. They both know the sport. And so, they're as good as any to talk about. You mentioned Laura Turner. Laura is, I think, hands down, one of the best broadcasters in the game. I speak from experience watching how she prepares. She made it through some of the North American matches that she ended up drawing the short straw on. So,
ouch, Peter.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I mean, come on, the Jesus Salate match. Again, Jesus didn't play well. She made it interesting. Like the commentators, all of them, I think, really brought their A game, and it was really refreshing. Again, just to kind of see the new faces and the old faces, and everything just kind of clicked this year, and I really wanted to just kind of get that out there.
You got to go to Dan and Durant and the established guys.
Look, I mean, Dan Dawson's one of the best commentators in the game. Glenn Durant is another guy. I mean, he's got his own stats guy. right? I mean, I don't think I'm sharing anything I shouldn't be sharing, but literally Dan pays somebody to do stats Glenn Durant pays somebody to do some stats for Glenn
I
Durant.
wasn't aware of that, but yeah, sure.
And so he actually, I mean, those are guys that go in and they know exactly what they want to say. They know the storyline. They know he could probably quote you. I know certainly Dan Dawson can quote you probably the last 5 times these guys have played each other. And they bring that. And if you're watching Peacock for the first time and you watch a match, any of those people, you're like, hey, these guys are I say guys, these people are good. Like they're bringing out the match. And that's, you can't underestimate or understate the you can't overstate the importance of that.
All right, before we let you go, a great question and a very insightful question in the Facebook chat. Peter Citera, did you meet the Wasp?
I did not. I had a can of wasp spray ready, but did not have to use it. I hear the Alley Pally Wasp is attracted only to people that actually know how to throw darts.
My friend, thank you so much for being on with me tonight. It's been a great show, lots of twists and turns, and a lot of great stuff to cover. Always a pleasure to sit with you. Folks, keep track of what Peter's up to there. You see at Champ Darts CEO on Twitter, and of course he's available on Facebook as we all are. So thanks, Pete, for sitting in with me tonight. We're going to move on to Richard Ashdown, and we're going to let Pete go so he can get some rest. One of the hardest working men in sports and darts and the whole kit and caboodle. Thanks, Pete.
Man. Sincerely, thank you. I always appreciate being on with you, and looking forward to the next time.
You got it, brother. See you soon.
Cheers, brother.
All right, everybody. Up next, I got a chance to sit down with our mutual friend, Richard Ashdown. Richard is a man of many, many talents, has been in this game nearly his whole life, has gone the whole road from scoring official to referee to MC, and now he works as a spotter for both Sky and other projects for the PDC. It does the World Series events. So we got a chance to catch up with Richard this week, and I will pull that up for you to enjoy. And we chatted about the PDC World Championship. If I can get this sucker to open up. There we go. Richard Ashdown. And away we go. Welcome in, Richard.
Hi there.
Great to have you tonight. And so you spent the event sitting behind the spotter's position for Sky Sports. So, but I know, ultimately at your core, you're not just a darts historian. You're not just in the dart business, but you're a dart fan. So let's talk about this event overall. What a great first step for the PDC with this advancement to 128 players, big movement in prize money. How cracking was the Alley Pally?
It was massive in every sense. I think this is now phase 5 for the PDC in terms of their World Championship structure. It started out with just 24, 8 groups of 3 in the first round. Then it went to your standard 32. They added then a prelim round, so it went to 40, 48. Then for a long, long time, we with 64, but then added in the extra round, prelims. Then it went to 96. This, the first time, 128 in knockout. That meant that the tournament not only grew in terms of numbers, an extra 32 players, but in terms of days, in terms of international coverage, and most notably, the headline grabber was the big check at the end, wasn't it? The £1 million prize. For the
it was an incredible 36 sessions over 20 days, and it was breathless to watch that many darts.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to see by nature, of course, if you're going to increase the numbers, you're going to get a lot more debutants, a lot more regions, a lot more representation. And we certainly enjoyed that in the pre-Christmas stage of the event.
We had our North American contingent, one of the largest groups we've seen. We had 6 players from North America, 1 from South America, so Western Hemisphere really represented well, and some great performances from a lot of the different affiliates, from the Asia Tour, the new African Tour that's going to kick off, and some of the other names that we've seen, players like on the Modus circuit, like Harrison, and a few others really made big impressions in those first round or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think that's what the affiliate tours are all about, is we want to bring the next stars through, and you see so many with the capabilities. I think early on that players like Johnny Tartar from New Zealand, we knew he was capable. A big win against Ed House, 3-0 on the big stage. We were also delighted, of course, to see Bo Greaves from the women's series, so dominant there, playing so well also on the development tour, winning her tour card. But her performance against Daryl Gurney, despite defeat, showed everyone why all the talk's been about her. It wasn't the greatest event, was it, for North America? But we did see Leonard Gates entertain in that tough match against Mickey Mansell, that's for sure. I think the dancing was better than the darts at some points, but that was good to see. And then we go right to the end of the scale with Paul Lim. I mean, he made his debut, Anthony. What year were you born? He made his debut in 1982. I know you're not that old.
I was 12 years old at the time, so I was already sort of clawing and scratching for information from overseas.
Okay, I was 3.
Touche, my friend, touche.
Yeah. But yeah, that was wonderful at the age of 71, getting that win. Not so much a surprise, but again, a great performance. He reached the Lakeside final just a year prior, so we knew he could still play, and we're going to see a bit more of him soon on the World Series as well. So Paul Lim, wonderful.
And it's not just his dart performance; it's that persona, that smile that he always has, engaging with the crowd. That goes so far in a room like the Alexandra Palace.
The characters are what it's all about. It's what it's always been about. But what I really felt at Ali Paddy this year more than ever before is how the audience embraced pretty much any overseas players and gave them the support. Andreas Harrison was immediately a firm favourite from Sweden. So you had someone in the Nordic and Baltic region doing so well.
Yep.
He played that well, beating Ross Smith in the first round. He was so close to progressing and even winning himself a tour card with the large prize money there. So that was great. And there were so many Asian players that we always enjoy, some new faces and some olders I've mentioned. So yeah, it's really great to see the regions progressing. And you mentioned right at the start about Africa. I mean, to see the Kenyan David play so well, it was amazing to see. And he beat, of course, a quality player, a major winner in Mike Dideka. So absolutely brilliant for the continent, but for David himself,
it is amazing to watch a player just sort of seem so at home on that big stage for at their first debut time. It's incredible, and he had that entire place in the palm of his hand.
Absolutely.
So now as we progress, now there's still continuing surprising names, but who are making substantial runs. Players like Hood, Manby, I should say, apologies, and Dutz.
Yeah. The names you've mentioned. Firstly, Kevin Dutz is on that list that we've all had of absolutely world class on the tour, waiting for him to make that next. So was really good again. I mean, he'd already defeated Michael Smith last year. He was the one actually that defeated David Manure. So even to beat the Kenyan in the second round, he had all the crowd against him, but he absolutely treated that with no problem whatsoever. Other top players struggled with that in the early rounds.
Yeah, he certainly showed a lot of maturity, and like you said, when we saw him against Michael Smith a couple of years ago, really started to show. You saw his dart game, and then I know for me, I was very impressed. He was part of the Matchroom documentary, and they followed him through the World Championship, so you got to know his personality again, and that his mom was a player, and it really gave you I started to become a fan through that peek at him as a person.
Right. And before we mention the most notable of Dutch performers, we'll do that later, but there are a lot that showed a lot of quality. Wesley Plessier, he's twice a WDF World Masters champion, but taking it onto the Ali Pali stage was great to see. We've already seen him perform well on the European Tour, despite not having a tour card at the time. And also Neil Zonneveld is another one that's been there that people are ready for him to perform. And he did the same as Dukes, really showed some stuff. And Jermaine Watamena, we know, has been in great form. He also took it onto the Ali Pali stage. So, yeah, some really good performances and played out a classic Jermaine did against the legend that is Gary Anderson.
And that was my great lead-in that you gave me, that match between Watamena and Anderson. And that, before we get to our champion, that's the next set of names I wanted to touch on was, Humphreys gets to the quarters. A lot of people tipped that he might, really be in good stead to get a second world championship, but he falls to, one of the players of the tournament is Jan van Veen. And then, of course, like you said, the Flying Scotsman, Gary Anderson, just proves again how, ageless darts can be. Conversation of the tournament, even Van Veen was up there, this is where it's about the youth. It's about the youth. But, the darts is still a sport where, you can see a guy like Gary Anderson, I'm 56, so I'm not going to call him an old man at 55. He just had a birthday. But a player of advanced years, can still go up there, throw amazing darts. And again, another person who simply can take that room and wrap it around his finger.
I spend a lot of time looking into darts players' eyes as a spotter. For Sky Sports, I'm looking at that camera all the time. And I tell you something, and I told him personally, there was a look in Gary's eye that I've not seen for quite a few years. He really seems so focused, really putting the work in, on the stage as well as, of course, off it. But he was so up for this tournament. There's no understatement there. And he was the one that brought, that we didn't mention him enough just now. He brought that fairy tale end of Justin Hood, didn't he, to an end. And Justin had already had such impressive performances against the players that we were touting as outsiders, or maybe even better for the title.
Yes.
In Danny Nopper, in Josh Rock. So Justin Hood absolutely made a name for himself. I know we already know a Hood historically that was quite good with the arrows. In Robin, but Justin, what?
But who goes up there 11 for 11 in his doubles, right?
Oh.
And the first dart he misses is for match darts. I mean, just
they have been
incredible.
Searching the record books for anything like, and I couldn't find anything.
That was that was when your Richard got a shout out live on Sky. Was that Stuart Pike asking for the and he knew the man to go to. He said Richard is somewhere in the building.
The thing, I
were you spotting?
I was in my hotel room. That's the thing. I have an afternoon off, ready for the evening, and and I still have to work for Stuart Pike. Yeah, but no, it's great. I mean, I remember Johnny Clayton winning a game at the Masters a few years back, beating James Wade 10-9. So he only won 10-9. He hit 10 out of 11 doubles.
Wow.
So that was the record on TV. Is it got 91%, 10 out of 11? That was the only thing. I remembered Shane McGurk last year at Lakeside. On his way, he became the champion at Lakeside. But in an early round, he did 9 out of 9.
Wow. Okay.
So we never saw him miss. So this would have been an advance of that by another set. Ricardo Pietrasco on the European tours, notable as well. He won the final 8 out of 8, but he'd also hit the 6 prior in the semi-final. So he had a run of 14 in a row, but he hadn't missed earlier in the match. So all of these great achievements with the doubles, Justin Hood has put his name right in, if not top of that list.
In the record books. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, as an aside, we've both played. I cannot imagine what a feeling that must be to be so in that zone that it literally every single time it leaves your hand, it's in the double. It just must be you're on top of the world.
I'm just going to take these off for a moment. Thank you. Oh, you look so much better once I take these off. I couldn't agree with you more. And he said afterwards I didn't know if he was aware at the time, if he's realizing, you're finishing well, but do you realize you've not missed?
Of course. You don't even want to let that creep in, but you just know that
he knew
he could throw it backwards. He knew.
Yeah, he knew. So he ended the match with a measly 75% on doubles.
I know what he just what a
12 out of
plummet.
16. I mean, come on.
So we just covered, these great stories that an event like this gives us, from international flavors to players truly, taking advantage of, life-changing moments. And then we turn the corner to January 3rd, and we've got Van Veen on stage against Littler. Let's talk a little bit about Van Veen's run, his maturation coming in as the 10 seed, finishes as the 3 in the Premier League. Give us your take on GVV.
Well, it was always going to be a huge, huge event in every sense because of the enormous amount of prize money. So all of the quarterfinalists have absolutely shot up the ranking table, if they weren't already up there. So you just touched on it again. We should mention Van Veen's brilliance against Luke Humphries in the quarterfinals. Sensational performance there. But yeah, he looks every bit the one of the favourites from match 1, didn't he? And everybody has been talking about it, but it's so great to see him deliver on the biggest of stages. And I tell you, a 7-1 result in the final, all of the talk, whether he was going to win or lose, is that he was going to take it really, really close. Yeah. So it's a shame with the scoreline, because he really did have chances in the first 3 or 4 sets.
Agreed. Yeah, the scoreline belittled how well he played early, and it was just Luke Littler was in that mood to not give opportunities to his opponent. And
like we saw throughout the tournament, everybody, if they had chances, it was winning a first set against Littler, or it was missing out or winning a second, and then that was pretty much that. And that seems to be the formula for the whole event for Luke Littler, who much like I discussed about Gary Anderson earlier, Luke Littler's been the player we've all watched more than anyone else, purely by his results and his success over the last 2 years. His focus didn't diminish, I don't think, for a set of that tournament. We've seen him in other events and other matches where early on, especially, he can look a little, sort of his B game's enough, and he's got one eye on it and the other eye on having a bit of fun. Not here. He was absolutely sensational. Well, I mean in terms of the whole package, the whole focus. He wasn't always the fan favourite.
Sure.
He knew he'd stumbled in things he'd said, but just dealt with it brilliantly and ended up with everybody singing his name, as they rightly should.
The $1 million man now, 2-time back-to-back world champion. I do think, to your point, that as much as he's also been sort of trained and groomed his whole life from a dart acumen on the board, he's also a dart historian, also a fan of the game. So I did get that same sense that it is different to go into the match play or the UK Open or Grand Prix, whatever he may have won or been defending champ of. It is a little bit different to come in and defend those titles. If you do, you do, and if you don't, you don't. To come in and defend a world championship when it had been so pointed out that it's been a full decade, names like Wright and MVG and even others through time, you part getting titles, nobody, going back to back except 3 prior people in Anderson, Lewis, and Taylor. I got that sense as well. Like, he understood that if I don't do this here, I now have to win again to even put myself in a position to go back to back. Like, this was almost this is a 3-year deal here if I don't get this done. So I'm going to stay focused and get this done.
And bearing in mind, he was the year prior on his debut, he was in the final, so he's done 3 straight finals. Not bad.
Incredible.
He's going to be really good when he's older.
When he comes of age, boy, look out. Yeah, it was, what a dichotomy to go into a final and say, all right, we've got one participant is 24 years old, one participant is 18, one of them is your world youth champion, one of them is your world champion, which is which, and it was crisscrossed.
Absolutely. We were saying those sort of things a couple of years ago when it was Humphries, the sort of champion elect at number 1 in the world, and Luke Littler as a 16-year-old and the world youth champion. So, and then last year, Littler beats the legend in MVG. So in terms of all the scripts, it's been perfect. And Luke Littler has played a massive part in that. And whatever continent you're on and wherever you're watching, he's benefiting all of us in the sport of darts, and we should appreciate that and enjoy it because he's just so amazing to watch.
Here. Yeah, cheers to that. Exactly. He has risen all boats, and here in the United States, the whole tournament was on Peacock, which is an NBC affiliate. So that app, there was a highlight package, NBC Sports proper on Sunday to replay the final, and I don't think that happens without Luke Littler. So
seeing darts headline news on the BBC. And I don't mean the sports news, I mean the news. That was special, just seeing that evening or the morning after, watching Luke Littler take out that wonderful 147 checkout.
The highest checkout to win a world championship, I saw the PDC
and I'm
post.
so pleased he went the way that I said, because, you never know. We got all the close-ups nice and neat. I'm just, giving myself a bit of credit here. You haven't. I was hoping you'd mention it.
Those, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's it. When you get great pictures at home, right on the doubles and the bullseye. That is Richard's work, and he directs the whole team in the truck. It is absolutely amazing to see, and I will tease that. I am myself, along with a lot of other folks, are very interested in that part of your career, and we hope to catch up with you sometime down this year, and we'll take a deep dive and we'll have a great chat. So before we go, congrats to Luke Littler, the first $1 million man. An amazing event that just saw benefits to darts worldwide. Thanks for joining us, Richard. And what do you have up next? What's you're hitting the road for 2026? What's the next tournament?
Yeah, for me, the World Series begins just next week. So we go to the Middle East. We go to Bahrain again, which has been great. And for the first time ever, Saudi Arabia. Really fascinating to see how that goes. The next biggie is the Winmore World Masters. So I know, again, a lot of North American contingent will be heading there for the preliminary rounds. And that will be one that Luke Littler will have his eye on because he hasn't won it yet. And I know that's going to be the next thing out of the biggies. Things like that, and the European Championship, he's going to want to tick off. So he's got
sir. As you and I well know, he's very Taylor-esque in that. Phil Taylor very much always liked to be the first name on a trophy, or very much desired if he hadn't gotten a title yet. It needed to go on the resume.
Yeah, I think Luke Humphries as well. He's only got 3 left to get, so it will be interesting this year. 2 names I want to mention before we go, and I'm sure you do as well. John McDonald, George Noble.
Correct, sir.
Certainly from my standpoint, as an MC and a referee, 2 of the all-time heroes of the sport. And it's a shame that they picked the same year to go, but we really did have a lot of fun with them on finals day, and the send-offs they deserved. They were put into the PDC Hall of Fame, so really nice, and congratulations to those 2 on an amazing career.
Indeed, I echo that as well. Yeah, two gentlemen who got the accolades they deserved, and they both brought us many, many years of joy and happiness, and we wish them the same as they take the next phase and spend more earned and valuable time with their families. So absolutely. I echo that. Thank you, Richard, and thank you for joining me for this, Richard. And we'll see you again soon.
I look forward to it. Let's speak soon. Hi ho.
Sorry, I was muted there for a second as I sat and enjoyed Richard's piece. And that's it, folks. We put a cap on a jam-packed episode as we open up season 3 here at Shooting the Bull. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank Dan Meyer for being on tonight, Richard Ashdown for sitting down with me this week, giving his time, and of course, the great Peter Citera for being along for the ride all evening tonight. And again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Champ Darts, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You'll find us on the podcast platforms. All right. We'll get to work on putting together a great episode for you next month. As Richard touched on, we've got the World Masters, Winmore World Masters coming up. We'll have the results of the Q schools going on, and I would assume some more news for the upcoming CDC Cross Border. All right. So stay tuned for that. All right. And don't forget, be yourself, know yourself, love yourself. Till the next time, Anthony Eugenia signing off.
Thanks for joining us for Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and follow us at Champ Darts on social media to keep up with all of the latest news on North American darts.